Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So, inshallah, in this lesson, we will be summarizing and analyzing the first chapter of the first part of the novel Atonement. So, this novel begins with a 13-year-old girl named Bryony Tellis, and she proudly prepares for the debut performance of the play which is written by her, and the name of the play is The Trials of the Arabella. Now, this Trials of the Arabella is a short play, and she has written this play about a young woman who overcomes various trials to elope with a penniless doctor. Now, her brother, Leon, he will be visiting home soon, and she hopes to impress him with the performance of the play which she has written. And Bryony's young cousins, they are scheduled to visit soon as well, and they will be the cast in the play. Um, so, by opening with Bryony's play, the novel emphasizes its own status as literature, and it also draws attention to the process of writing in general. So, and further, there is something to note that the subject of the Bryony's play, it resembles the subject of Atonement itself. Now, there is one play which is written by Bryony, and that is the Trials of Arabella, and that play is actually mentioned in the real play, that is the Atonement which we are studying. And the story of the Trials of the Arabella, it kind of resembles the subject of the story of this play which we are reading, which is Atonement. And in this story, Atonement, there is a woman, Cecilia, who happens to be the sister of Bryony Tellis, and she seeks to be with the lower class doctor in training, and his name is Robbie. And the theme of this part is stories and literature. Now, we are saying that the theme of this part of the novel is stories and literature. What does it suggest? Now, let us be sure about one thing, that Bryony Tellis, who's the main character, she writes the story of Atonement many years after the events it describes. So, this story, which is written by Atonement, it is presented in the novel that it is actually written by Bryony Tellis herself. Okay, na? And it is written by Bryony Tellis after many years. She events these she describes the events which are being described right now. So, as a young girl, Bryony is a self-centered, and she is quick to judge others, and her misinterpretation of events, it leads to Robbie Turner's wrongful imprisonment. And now, as Bryony matures, she uses writing to confront the harm she has caused previously. However, she realizes that storytelling cannot change the past or make up for her mistakes. Now, writing allows her a way out. It allows her a window. It allows her an escape. So, this writing allows her to empathize with others and explore different perspectives, but it doesn't have the power to undo what has been done. Therefore, Brinley struggles with the idea of atonement itself, and she questions whether she can ever truly make things right through her writing. She understands the limitations of literature in changing reality, but she believes that the effort to seek atonement is important, even though she knows she has somehow, in one corner of her heart, accepted that she would never be atoned, but at least she's trying, she's giving it a try. Okay, so even though she seeks to attain atonement through her semi autobiographical reflections, she does not have the power to make the past and mend the past, to remake the past, and remedy her harmful actions. So she ultimately comes to believe that literature both can and cannot offer atonement, that it will not change the world, but that the doomed effort to do so through literature is what matters. So whenever we're going to be saying that in any part of the novel that the theme is stories and literature, it is going to mean the same thing. It is going to reflect the same idea which is being described over here. Next, we're going to move on to the next part. In this part, Bryony is described as an orderly, a very organized woman, but with that, she is being described as a demanding girl also. But this girl she has a gift, and that gift is the gift for writing. And with that, she somehow normally misuses lofty words against others. So therefore, this gift of writing has somehow or sometimes changes in a tendency to misuse lofty words. And she's eager to impress her family with her work. And she sees that the trials of Arabella, which is the play which is being written, which is being written by her, uh, it 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 is she sees the play as having a particular potential to end in public failure. That's why she's afraid of it. Now, how are we going to analyze this? At this moment, only at this very moment of the play, Bryony's storytelling is utterly narcissistic. She has no aims other than to impress her family, and because of that, she seeks control to ward off failure. Therefore, the theme again over here would be stories and literature, because somehow she's using this story, this play, this literature to achieve something in her life. Now, let us move on ahead. Now, Bryony's cousins, the Quincy's, one of them is the 15-year-old Lola, and her 9-year-old twin brothers, Jackson and Pirate. They will be staying with her family to escape a feud, a fight, a disagreement which is going on between their separating parents. So when the Quincy children arrive, Bryony does not consider their state of mind and begins to lecture them about rehearsing her play. But her older sister Cecilia and her mother Emily, they try to make the children feel at home. Now, Bryony cannot understand the feelings of anyone but herself. Instead of empathetically working to ensure her cousin's comfort, who must be hurting from their parents' impending and bitter divorce, what does she do? She tries to force them into the activity that is most important to her only. Again, her narcissistic behavior. Okay, and what is that? Filling out the cast of her play, meaning using these people, these cousins, as the cast of her play. Now, there are, excuse me. Now, there are two themes to this part of the novel. Number one is stories and literature, and we have already discussed what does it mean. The other one is perspective. Now, one of the main themes of atonement is how everyone's perspective shapes their reality. Ian McEwin shows this by letting different characters tell the story, revealing their biases and assumptions. The most significant example is Bryony wrongly accusing Robbie of rape, and her jealousy and imagination lead her to misinterpret events and believe Robbie is guilty. This false belief spreads even further. Why? Because of others, like the police and Mrs. Tellis as well, who already have biased views. Now, McEwen also shows that no character sees things factually. For example, Robbie and Cecilia, they also wrongly suspect someone else for the crime. This shows how storytelling influences our understanding of truth, and highlighting at the same time the importance of considering different perspectives. That's why the theme over here is the perspective. And how does it fit over here? It fits through uh, Bryony, okay, who is narcissistic and who is looking at the people and the situations, and rather than empathizing with them, she's looking at the situation with her own perspective and believes that her perspective is the right perspective, and thinks that others would obviously understand her perspective and be her subjects and submit to her demands. Okay, now next part takes us to a room. in which the briny has gone, and in that room she wonders how she will cast her play. She rationalizes that Lola's colorful complexion it makes her ineligible to star as Arabella, who happens to be the main character of the story, and she considers herself better suited to the role. After all, Arabella is really based on Bryony and resembles her completely. However, when Bryony assembles the Quincy's to talk about the casting, she is intimidated by Lola's painted nails and perfume. What happens? Lola manipulates Bryony into letting her play the role of Arabella. And Bryony, amazingly, reluctantly, has to accept. Now the group begins to rehearse, and as the disappointing reality of her play takes shape, Bryony begins to understand the huge difference that lay between an idea and its execution. Of now this vision of Bryony, of Arabella, it further reinforces that her writing exists only to please herself. Instead of using writing to explore new perspectives, Bryony simply inserts herself into the center of a literary universe. However, the narrow mindedness of this approach becomes obvious when other free thinking humans enter the picture. So, outside of her literary world, Bryony cannot control every detail of her circumstance. Now, it's worth noting here as Bryony ponders the difference between an idea and its execution, the difference between her story of a girl and a doctor, in which the girl overcomes trials and ends up with her true love, and the much messier real world story of atonement, in which the girl and the boy both die, and the boy never even succeeds in becoming a doctor. So, this difference, when she's pondering over the story, the plot of a story, this difference becomes quite obvious to Brian. Therefore, it again brings us to the end of this lesson and the end of this first part, this first chapter of the first part, with the themes of stories and literature and perspective. I hope you understood this. And if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.